All right, so let's start.
So for our topic today, this will be the last for the final topics. We'll talk about the transfusion reactions, or what we also known as the adverse effect of blood transfusion. So in this topic, no, we will talk about the different reaction or the transfusion reaction as any adverse event that occurs due to transfusion not only of blood but also of blood components and yung mga na-discuss natin previously na mga plasma products or plasma-derived products. Okay? So, for the reaction, the timing no is very important. Kaya yung classifications natin, okay, ng adverse reaction or transfusion reaction is based on the time interval. So we have acute and we have the delayed. So when you say time interval, ito yung nagdedictate kung gaano kabilis nangyayari yung reaction. So when you say acute transfusion reaction, this occurs within 24 hours, okay, of the transfusion. These are often mga considered medical emergencies. Okay, yung mga acute. And then we also have the delayed transfusion reaction. Kung ang acute ay within 24 hours, ang delayed naman is after pa 24 hours. Understood? Sometimes it would take days, even weeks, bago mag-manifest. So other classification will include, okay, after the acute and the delayed, we can further classify them as to whether it's immunologic or non-immunologic. So ibig sabihin, pag sinabi natin immunologic, there is an interaction between the antigen and the antibody. So possibly antibody or antigen from the blood products, from the blood components, okay, or from the plasma-derived products. Okay? And then when you say non-immunologic, this could be because of other factors, such for example, yung contamination ng mga microorganism, okay? Or we will also talk about later yung mga tinatawag nating mga circulatory overload. We have that, we also have physical and chemical hemolysis, intra and extravascular hemolysis. So ganun din sa delayed, we can further classify them as to whether it's immunologic reaction or non-immunologic. So lahat ng nandito i-discuss po natin no under each classifications. Okay? So now let's talk about what are adverse reaction. So basically ang approach natin no would be symptoms, based on the symptoms. Okay? So dyan natin na-identify, dyan natin na ma-manage yung reaction in real time. So what are the adverse reactions based on the based on the patient's symptoms? So number one is fever. So kapag po nag-develop ng fever yung patient during or after transfusion, posible na may bacteria o sepsis, so caused by contaminated blood products, or meron tayong tinatawag na AHTR or the acute hemolytic transfusion reaction. Kadalasan dahil ito sa ABO incompatibility. Okay? ABO incompatibility. So that katulad ng sinabi ko sa inyo previously, kailangan bago i-transfuse yung blood, ABO compatible. Kasi ito yung madalas na reason kung bakit nagkakaroon ng transfusion reaction. Okay? Then we also have the FNHTR. This is a common, usually non-dangerous reaction caused by antibodies, mga cytokines, no? Towards our WBCs. Okay? So meron pa tayong mga dyspnea, ibig sabihin difficulty in breathing, kadalasan na cause niyan yung TRALI. TRALI is transfusion-related acute lung injury. TACO is transfusion-associated circulatory overload or probably because of anaphylaxis. Okay? And then urticaria, allergic reaction po yan. Kadalasan itching, may mga redness, no? Mild, usually type 1 hypersensitivity yan. And then posible din magkaroon ng hypotension, no? Hypotension, ibig sabihin low blood pressure. Hemolysis, nasisira yung mga red blood cells natin. That could further lead to other complication such as kidney failure, okay, and jaundice. And then pag sinabi natin cytopenia, nagda-drop yung mga blood cell counts natin, katulad ng platelets, white blood cells, dahil yan sa delayed reaction, no? Kadalasan associated sa mga graft versus host disease or post-transfusion purpura. Anyway, pag-uusapan natin yan isa-isa today. Okay? So, these are the risks of transfusion. So, they are associated, no, in different outcomes that causes morbidity, okay, and even mortality. Pag sinabi natin morbidity, nagkakaroon po ng mga complication. Pag sinabi natin mortality, ibig sabihin, okay, that could lead to fatality. Ibig sabihin, namamatay, that could lead to death, no? So, some transfusion-associated adverse events, pwede natin ma-prevent, yung iba, hindi. So, the diagnosis and the treatment of the transfusion is a multidisciplinary task. Ibig sabihin, hindi lang medtech ang involved dito, no? Kasama po sa investigation, kasama ang lahat ng aspects, okay? Or lahat ng professionals, no, na involved sa blood transfusion, nurses, physicians, doctors, medtech, kasama po yan sa investigation. Okay? So, eto na I believe na discuss na natin to nung una nating discussion about the blood products. Okay? So, these are the lesions of storage. Ibig sabihin, ito yung mga biochemical or structural changes sa RBC. Okay? While it is being stored in our blood bank. So, tatandaan ninyo, as the blood ages doon sa bag, yung quality no nagde-decline. Kaya nakaka-affect din po yun sa transfusion. Okay? Ibig sabihin, may posibleng effect yun after the or during the transfusion. So ito yung mga example ng mga changes which we already discussed previously. Halimbawa, nagde-decrease yung glucose kasi nako-consume yung available na glucose, di ba? Pero may mga preservative naman tayong ginagamit para yung mga RBCs natin or yung mga ibang cells natin will stay alive. So also, yung dahil nabawasan yung glucose, yung ATP magde-decrease din, 'di ba? Kasi yung ATP very dependent yan sa glucose availability. Then also, nagkakaroon tayo ng acidosis. Bakit? Kasi nagbi-build up yung lactic acid. Diba? So, byproduct yan ng anaerobic metabolism. So, nagda-drop yung pH, kaya po nagiging mas acidic yung pH ng blood na nasa blood bag. Tapos, nawawala yung 2,3-DPG. Okay? Remember the 2,3-DPG, this is critical molecule which helps your RBC para ma-release yung oxygen sa tissue. Okay? So, kapag nag-drop na ang 2,3-DPG to 0, look at this. Nag-drop na siya to 0 within the first week, within the first week of storage. Meaning, yung old blood is less efficient para makapag-deliver ng oxygen. Okay? After transfusion. Kaya po, the fresh, the blood is the better. Okay? Also, pati mga electrolytes, no? Hyperkalemia, ang ibig sabihin, yung sodium-potassium pump ng red cell natin nag-fail. Bakit? Eh, di ba very dependent sila sa ATP. So, yung potassium nag-leak palabas ng cell, okay? Papunta sa plasma. So, the transfusion of old blood can cause the spike sa potassium level ng pasyente. Naintindihan? So, yan yung kadalasang nakaka-apekto sa heart ng patient. Tapos hyponatremia naman, ibig kong sabihin, yung sodium nagmo-move siya paloob, papasok ng cell. Kaya nababawasan yung level nila sa plasma. Kaya hyponatremia. Tapos may possibility din ng hemolysis. Hindi naman natin yan maiiwasan, no? Over time, yung mga RBC talaga nagra-rupture. So, nare-release yung free hemoglobin papunta sa blood. Okay? Kaya kung makikita ninyo, ito po, yung free hemoglobin, pataas po yan. Okay? Ano naman ang effect? Nagiging toxic siya sa kidney. Okay? Nagiging toxic siya sa patient's kidney. So, dito makikita natin sa graph kung ano yung mga nangyayari doon sa mga factors na nasa blood natin. Okay? I believe na-discuss natin to previously, so I'll leave that. So, ito yung mga nakaka-affect, no? Tapos, punta tayo sa mga regulatory institutions. So, when the patient dies, tandaan nyo to, when the patient dies as a result of transfusion, it will trigger massive investigation. Okay? Massive investigation process. So si FDA, specifically yung arm niya na tinatawag natin Center for Biologic Evaluation and Research, yan yung specific arm ng FDA na nag-i-investigate sa lahat ng fatality due to blood transfusion. So yung hospitals are legally required mag-report ng death within a specific time frame. Yung CDC naman, okay, kung ang FDA nag-investigate, si CDC naman or Center for Disease Control and Prevention via yung arm nila na tinatawag natin na National Healthcare Safety Network, siya yung nagpo-provide ng criteria. Okay, standardized criteria para ma-classify natin yung mga transfusion reaction. Understood? Ulitin ko ha, FDA, investigate. Si CDC ang nagpo-provide ng standardized criteria para ma-classify yung reaction. Understood? So, there are 3 leading causes of death. Ito po yun. Si TRALI, si TACO, at saka si TTBI, which we will discuss further later on. So, tandaan nyo ha, ito yung common or leading cause ng death. Okay? Due to blood transfusion. So, it is very important, no, that it's very important that initial steps, no, are being done. For example, yung patient, yung transfusionist, yung physician, they are very aware sa nangyayari dun sa patient at the time of the transfusion. So from the initial step, no, there are intermediate step and final step that are involved in the transfusion process. So dapat involved lahat. Sabi ko nga kanina, multidisciplinary po. Okay? So, ano bang ibig sabihin ng transfusion reaction? So, sabi ko nga kanina, yun yung reaction na makikita natin through their signs and symptoms during or within. So, the 24 hours of transfusion. Pag sinabi natin during, acute reaction yon. During or within 24 hours, acute yon. Pag after 24 hours, that is delayed, no, reaction. So, usually, group natin sila according to the common etiology na nagpe-present ng iba't ibang signs and symptoms. Okay? So, let's talk about the alloimmunization, no, to RBC antigen, which is a process where the person's immune system develops antibody against the foreign RBC antigens. Okay? Na kaya tayo nag-develop ng antibody kasi wala tayo ng antigen na yon. So kumbaga na-expose tayo dun sa antigen, right? Tapos nag-produce tayo ng antibody. Kaya tayo nag-produce kasi wala tayo ng antigen na yon. Naintindihan? So, while ABO incompatibility ang pinaka-common na reason kung bakit nagkakaroon ng transfusion reaction, meron din tayong mga non-ABO antibody that can also cause significant clinical issue. Naintindihan? So tatandaan niyo lang, yung katawan natin, hindi po natin napoproduce lahat ng antibodies. Okay? So, ang nangyayari, nagkakaroon ng sensitization. Ang ibig sabihin nun, na-expose tayo. Pag na-expose tayo sa foreign blood, nag-create tayo nung bagong antigen. So, paano natin nakikreate yung mga non-ABO antibodies na yan? So, number 1 nga is transfusion. Nag-receive ka ng blood, may mga ibang antigens doon na wala tayo, nag-develop ka ng antibody. Pregnancy. Paano naman? Bakit pag pregnancy? Yung fetal RBC, nagko-cross yan sa placenta, papasok yan sa mother circulation. Anong mangyayari? Si mother magde-develop ng antibody. Right? Pwede rin transplantation, yung foreign na tissue or yung foreign na organ, may dala-dala siyang bagong antigen galing sa patient, so magti-trigger siya ng antibody production. By the way, ito yung mga common or non-ABO antigens and antibody na pwede nating magawa, no? These are the clinically significant non-ABO antibodies that we usually encounter in the blood bank. So we have the anti-D, part yan ng RH, if you remember, the anti-K, part yan ng KEL, and then we have the anti-E. Okay, another common sa RH system po yan. Okay, so let's start with the first transfusion reaction. Okay, acute. Ano ibig sabihin ng acute? It means the symptoms occurred during or within 24 hours of the transfusion. Ang pinaka-common cause ay ABO incompatibility. Naintindihan? And kadalasan po, nag-start na ang reaction as little as 10 to 15 ml of blood transfusion. Nangyayari, nakikita na agad yung reaction na yan. Naintindihan? So, domino effect yung process niya kung paano nangyayari. So, una, yung pre-existing na IgM or IgG antibody sa patient's plasma will immediately bind to the foreign antigen which is found dun sa donor's red cell. Clear? Magfo-form sila ng complex. So magkakaroon ng binding, magka-cluster ngayon yung antibody, okay, at saka yung cell na merong antigen. So this is the most dangerous step pag na-activate ang complement cascade. Okay? The immune complexes will activate the complement system, specifically leading to the formation of MAC. Do you still remember the MAC? Ano ibig sabihin ng MAC? Membrane Attack Complex, which will punch hole doon sa donor RBC. So, kapag yung RBC na yon nasa bloodstream na ng patient, magkakaroon ng tinatawag nating intravascular hemolysis. Malinaw po? So ulitin ko ha, yung IgM antibody natin, halimbawa ikaw yung patient. Yung donor na blood na ibibigay sa'yo, may foreign antigen. So, nasan ba yung antigen? E di nasa RBC. So, anong mangyayari? Yung IgM ni patient or IgG ni patient i-complex dun sa antigen na nasa red cell. So, pagka nangyari yon, mag-a-activate ang complement. Ang mangyayari, masisira yung RBC na may dalang antigen, leading to intravascular hemolysis. So pag nag-burst na yung cell na yon, magre-release ng hemoglobin, magre-release ng cytokine, it will lead to different symptoms katulad ng fever, katulad ng chill, and even hypotension that could lead to shock. Understood? Okay? Now, the coagulation cascade is now activated. So the cellular debris and inflammatory state now will trigger the clotting system, which could lead now to DIC. Ano yung DIC? Disseminated intravascular coagulation, where your patient or where the patient simultaneously clots and also bleed, and that could lead to death. Understood? So ito po yung diagram ng mga posibleng mangyari kapag nagkaroon ng AHTR. So as you can see here, we have intravascular hemolysis, may bleeding, may renal failure, may vascular collapse, and bronchospasm. Clear? Okay, next. So for the AHTR, the most severe cases, katulad nga ng sabi ko kanina, is life-threatening, right? So the reason is the ABO incompatibility. Anong nangyayari? Nagkakaroon ng DIC, nagkakaroon ng renal failure. So the AHTR remains the most life-threatening reaction. Again, anong reason? ABO incompatibility. Is it clear? So, before Karl Landsteiner discovered the ABO system in 1900s, if you remember, transfusion was essentially not possible, right? So the reason was because of the reactions that is occurring because of the ABO incompatibility. Okay? So, gaano po ba katagal bago mag-manifest ito? It can start in minutes or pwede pong mag-unfold yung full reaction. Full reaction over 1 to 2 hours. Naintindihan? Over 1 to 2 hours. Look at this. Ito yung intravascular hemolysis. Ito yung nangyayari po sa red blood cell natin sa loob ng blood vessels, no? So, once the RBC rupture, marirelease si hemoglobin. Okay, marirelease si hemoglobin, which then breaks into dimers. Naalala niyo yung intravascular hemolysis sa HEMA1. So ano yung mga important na proteins dito? Haptoglobin and hemopexin. So yung haptoglobin, magbabind yan sa hemoglobin, okay? That will prevent na pumunta yung hemoglobin sa kidney. Right? So, kaso lang nauubos ang haptoglobin. Correct? So, ano nangyayari dun sa remaining na free hemoglobin? So, mag-i-spill yan sa urine. Kaya magkakaroon ng hemoglobinuria. Naintindihan? So, next, yung liver natin mag-a-attempt na i-process yung heme para maging bilirubin. Okay? Tapos, involved dito yung gut natin, kaya nagkakaroon tayo ng fecal urobilinogen. So this is why jaundice is common sign following a hemolytic event. So the left side, the hemoglobin and the methemoglobin will now hit the kidney. Kaya nagkakaroon ng tinatawag natin na kidney failure. Kapag sobrang dami ng heme na hindi na kayang i-process ng hindi na kayang i-process ng haptoglobin. Okay? So, tatandaan po natin anong root cause. Ang root cause kung bakit nagkakaroon ng AHTR would be the ABO incompatibility due to clerical error. Okay? Incompatibility ng blood is always because of human mistake. Hindi yan lab failure. Okay? For example, mali yung patient, tama yung blood. Or the other way around. So kaya po nangyayari yan, mali yung pinagbibigyan ng dugo. So about 50% ng mga fatal error happened because the bag was cross-matched perfectly, no? But was accidentally hung into other patient. Sabi ko nga, wrong patient, tama naman yung blood. Okay? Or possibly because of labeling error, the other 50% mislabeling. ng initial blood sample taken from the patient. Okay? Or nare-record natin yung result incorrectly. So clerical error ang main reason kung bakit nangyayari yung ABO, incompatibility. Okay? Human error. Okay, next. So when the patient shows sign of reaction, so ano nga yung mga reaction, pwedeng fever, chill, hypotension, kailangan yung nursing staff must perform immediate action. Kasi guys, hindi naman tayo yung tatransfuse eh. Mga nurses ang nagtatransfuse. So kapag nakita nila may reaction na, there should be processes that should immediately or actions that should immediately be done. For example, kailangan stop mo na yung transfusion immediately. Hindi i-slow down na immediately disconnect the blood from the IV. Okay? Next, another is perform clerical verification. Ibig sabihin, perform a bedside check. Kung tama ba yung unit tag dun sa patient ID. Tingnan natin kung tama ba yung nailagay na blood bag, na isabit na blood bag na itatransfuse dun sa patient. And then, pangatlo is physician notification. Ibig sabihin, kailangan matawagan agad yung doktor para ma-manage agad yung clinical symptoms. Okay? And then, ano-ano yung mga required na documentation. So kapag na-stabilize na yung patient, guys, pag na-stabilize na, kailangan nang gumawa ng transfusion reaction workup. Okay? So, ibig pong sabihin, kailangan na mag-investigate. So, ano-ano ba yung mga kailangan? Kailangan natin ng samples, katulad ng blood sample. Okay? A new post-transfusion sample is drawn from the patient. So, yung laboratory, i-check kung may hemolysis ba. Okay? Tapos, magpa-positive ba yan sa DAT, direct antiglobulin test, kung para makita natin kung may antibody ba na currently na nasa donor's red cell. Okay, kukuha rin tayo ng urine sample, titingnan natin yung hemoglobinuria. Hallmark kasi ang hemoglobinuria, no, ng intravascular hemolysis. Okay? Tapos, kukuha rin tayo ng sample from the component bag. Ibig sabihin, doon sa blood bag na titransfuse, no? Kailangan makakuha tayo ng sample doon. Tapos, babalik natin sa laboratory, magpa-perform ulit ng cross-matching. Magre-cross-match ulit para ma-check kung may error ba talaga. And then, you check, you record all the results, no? So, you record all the results before, during, and after the reaction. Okay? So, now, if the post-reaction blood sample appears hemolyzed upon inspection, a second sample should be requested para ma-verify yung hemolysis. Okay? So, kung yung DAT, if the DAT performed in the post-reaction sample show a new or a stronger positivity than the pre-reaction sample DAT, kailangan gumawa ng further workup. So, the required samples or testing for time frames for indicators affected by the intravascular hemolysis. Okay? So, may mga indicators tayo ng intravascular hemolysis. Halimbawa, yung free hemoglobin. So, magra-rise yan immediately, no? Serum bilirubin. Ang serum bilirubin, usually nagpipik yan 3 to 6 hours. Ano pa? Intravascular hemolysis, haptoglobin. Dapat anong mangyayari sa haptoglobin? Dapat mag-zero. Right? Mauubos ang haptoglobin. And also, urine. Sa urine, kailangan may presence ng hemoglobin para masabi natin na nangyari ang intravascular hemolysis. Okay? So, ano nga ang reason ng AHPR? The ABO incompatibility. So this is the classic cause. The patient's naturally occurring antibodies like anti-A, anti-B attack the donor's cell. So tulad nga ng sabi ko, ano po yung hemolysis na nangyayari? Intravascular. So these are the clinical presentation. So katulad nga ng sabi natin, kung intravascular, may hemoglobinuria. Right? Tapos, may fever, may chills, okay? And the worst could lead to renal failure and DIC. Yung fever, guys, presenting sign lang yan, ha? Indicator lang yan na may nangyayari early, na nangyayari na reaction. So for the management, kailangan natin ma-stop yung reaction, right? So, una, immediately stop the blood. Tulad ng sabi ko kanina, mag-verify, i-notify agad si blood bank para magbigay ng investigation, tapos mag-proceed na sa testing, fresh patient sample lang kukunin. Ano pa? Kukuha rin tayo ng sample from the blood bank. I-retest yan for cross-matching. Okay? And then, titreat yung DIC. So if the patient begin to bleed uncontrollably because of the DIC, they may need more blood products katulad ng platelet, fresh frozen plasma, cryoprecipitate para ma-replace yung mga nawalang clotting factors. Okay? So, let's move on to another reaction which is your FNHTR. So, the most common signs and symptoms of this is fever and chill. By the way, this is the most common type of transfusion, no? Compared to your AHTR, this is a mild immunologic reaction. I repeat, mild. Okay? Caused by the interaction of the recipient antibody against the HLA antigen sa donor's WBC and platelet. I repeat, nagkaroon ng reaction sa HLA antigen sa donor WBC at sa platelet. Malinaw yon? So unlike the hemolytic reaction in your AHTR, ito hindi life-threatening. But it is significant because yung initial symptoms nito kamukha ng AHTR. Malinaw? May fever, may chills, may ganun din ng AHTR. Okay? Now, ang common reaction of these adverse event is that it occurs frequently enough kaya yung mga experienced na nurses na ma-manage agad nila sa yung ibang mga cases. No? So, ang tinitignan natin yung pagtaas ng body temperature at least to 1 degree Celsius from the pre-transfusion baseline. Okay? So, yung timing nito, di ba kanina 1 to 2 hours? Yung AHTR. Ito naman within 4 hours. Okay? It occurs during the transfusion or within 4 hours of its completion. So, yung fever, yung primary sign, di ba? A patient that is experiencing this reaction may also show may chills, merong shaking, no? Nilalamig kahit na mainit naman yung temperature. Tapos, nagkakaroon ng tachycardia. Pag sinabi natin tachycardia, increased heart rate. Tachypnea, ibig sabihin, increase ang breathing, no? Rate. And then, tumataas din ang blood pressure. Tapos, nagkakaroon ng nausea at vomiting. Bakit nagkakaroon ng nausea, nahihilo at saka nagsusuka? Kasi nagkakaroon ng gastrointestinal distress. So, para ma-rule out natin, no, na ito ay FNHTR, if a patient is hypothermic and their temperature rises back to a normal range, this is not considered FNHTR. I repeat, kung hypothermic yung patient, tapos yung temperature nila, no, nagra-rise to a normal range, hindi yan FNHTR. Dapat yung fever mag-e-exceed sa 38 or merong 1 degree Celsius na change na mayroong chills or rigor. Tsaka natin sasabihin na yon ay FNHTR. So there are 2 mechanisms that are involved sa FNHTR. Okay? Even though ang end result na fever is the same, no? Na meron tayong dalawang distinct way the patient reacts to the blood component. So, pag sinabi natin immune-mediated, that is because of the antibodies. Yung recipient, may pre-existing antibody siya na sinisira yung WBC nung donor. Understood? So, paano mape-prevent yun? So, kailangan yung reduce yung component na ibibigay. Naintindihan? So, by filtering out the donor WBC before storage, wala na pong re-reactan yung antibody ng patient. Right? Kasi leukoreduce na. Yung isa pa is because of the platelet storage changes, cytokines naman. Kung ang immune-mediated is antibody, sa platelet storage naman, cytokines. So, during storage, especially yung mga platelets, yung small number ng residual na WBC sa blood bag can leak inflammatory cytokines. So katulad ng interleukin-1, 6, mga TNF-alpha papunta sa plasma. So kapag nangyari yung transfusion, itong mga cytokines na to will enter the patient bloodstream and will act directly sa patient, kaya nagtitrigger ng fever. Alright? So, ito po yung mga clinical presentation. So, fever, during, or soon after the transfusion. So, may chill, may rigor. We've already mentioned that. Okay? And sometimes, walang fever. Okay? Ano ba itong walang fever? Fever na to? Ibig sabihin, absent. No? Yung diagnosis natin is only made based on the presence of chills. Wala na yung fever. Chills lang po ang titignan natin na signs and symptoms. So for the management, if the patient develop fever and chill during the transfusion, bibigyan lang po natin ng medication katulad ng acetaminophen or Tylenol administered at the dose of 325 to 650 milligram. Orally po ito ha. This targets the hypothalamus to reset. Kumbaga parang ma-reduce yung fever natin. And then we also have the meperidine or Demerol. Ginagamit naman natin to sa mga patient na nag-experience ng severe na rigor, uncontrolled na shaking. Okay? Effective yan para ma-stop natin yung tremors ng patient. So ito naman yung prevention. Kung may history yung patient, especially ng FNHTR, so pwede tayong mag-perform ng routine pre-medication. Okay, magbibigay na ng Tylenol or antihistamine before ng transfusion. And by the way, eto pala considered po ito na hindi effective. Dinediscourage na po ito. Okay? And then we also provide drugs for patients, no? Kapag may repeated na FNHTR. So binibigyan na po agad ng acetaminophen, corticosteroid, or meperidine. Okay? And then, pwede kang mag-manipulate ng component. So halimbawa, para ma-prevent natin yung FNHTR, change na tayo ng blood product. So dapat fresh component, yung hindi in-store for a long time para hindi na mag-produce ng cytokine. O kaya tatanggalin yung plasma para mabawasan yung cytokine. O kaya naman iwawash yung RBC. Okay? Para ma-remove yung mga traces ng donor plasma at saka ng WBC. Okay? Next, punta tayo sa ATR. Allergic naman po. Allergic transfusion reaction. Second most frequent. I repeat, second most frequent category ng adverse event. after ng febrile reaction. So yung febrile reaction natin, AHTR at saka FNHTR. Ito yung second most frequent na category. Category siya ha. Usually because of allergic reactions. Okay? Our body's sensitivity to different proteins in the donor's plasma. So, ang kadalasan po, type 1 hypersensitivity reaction. So, this is mediated by the IgE. Ibig sabihin, yung recipient, meron siyang pre-form na IgE. Tapos, itong antibodies, nagre-react siya dun sa allergen galing sa donor na blood component. So kapag nag-bind si IgE dun sa allergen, nagtitrigger yan ng mast cell na mag-release ng histamine, kaya nagkakaroon ng mga symptoms. Ano ba yung mga symptoms na yan? Yung mga wheals, hives, urticaria, makati, no? Itchy, bumps on the skin, may erythema, redness sa skin, pruritus, ibig sabihin intense na itching. So, kapag ka may recurrent na allergic reaction, yung patient, anong gagawin natin? Bigyan mo ng washed RBC. Naintindihan? So, for the management, so the recipient, bibigyan natin ng antihistamine prior to transfusion. Understood? So, paano mape-prevent? So, routine pre-medication, again, is not useful. For current reaction, pwede kang gumamit ng dihenhydramine, which is given 25 to 50 milligram. Hydrocortisone, okay, 100 milligram. Okay, plasma depletion, or as I mentioned earlier, washed RBC. Okay? Pag sinabi natin plasma depletion, ibig sabihin, babawasan natin yung total volume ng donor plasma. Bakit? Kasi nga, yun yung may mga protein eh. Right? Nasa plasma yung mga proteins na pwedeng maging allergens. So, babawasan natin. Yun yung plasma depletion. Naintindihan? Okay. So, anaphylactic transfusion reaction. So, these are also mediated by plasma proteins. Also by antibodies to IgA. Yan yung tinatawag nating anaphylactic reaction. So, ano yung mga severe reaction? May anaphylactoid or anaphylactic reaction. Non-allergic po ito ha, kasi kinokos ng IgA. Understood? So, paano natin i-manage? So, babawasan natin or tatanggalin natin yung IgA component sa mga blood products. O kaya, mag-a-administer tayo ng subcutaneous epinephrine kung may reaction na sa patient. Or stabilize yung blood pressure or prompt intervention para ma-maintain yung oxygenation. Okay? So, ito naman yung mga adverse reaction to transfusion plasma-derived product. Naalala niyo yung albumin, okay? IV immunoglobulin, okay? So, there are 3 prime category of products, no, na concern natin sa mga plasma-derived products katulad ng albumin, the intravenous immune globulin, and we have the human-derived factor concentrates. So, yung albumin, ito yung nagpo-cause ng hypotensive reaction. Ibig sabihin, low blood pressure sa mga patient na nagtitake ng ACE inhibitor. So this is often due to the presence of prekallikrein activator. Okay, and then we have the intravenous immune globulin. Ito naman, associated sa mild to moderate allergic reaction. That typically, self-limited naman siya, meaning nagre-resolve naman to without intensive intervention. And then we have the human-derived factor concentrate. Example nito, yung mga patient na nagre-receive ng mga recombinant factor 8, recombinant factor 9, yung mga synthetic version, rather than the plasma-derived ones, no? And then, these are associated with adverse events other than the viral transmission. So, ang mga symptoms po nito, headache, yan po yung pinaka-common na nare-report na symptom. So, this is accompanied as well by fever. Ibig sabihin, systemic na yung manifestation. Pag may fever, may chill, tapos may nausea, vomiting, may gastrointestinal distress na, urticaria, dermatological, muscular cramps, and back pain. Okay, so ito yung mga common symptoms. Next, let's move on to TRALI. TRALI is an acute respiratory syndrome that occurs during or shortly after the transfusion. So may respiratory distress and severe hypoxemia. Ibig sabihin ng hypoxemia, mababa yung oxygen level. Okay? So to be classified as TRALI, the onset must occur during or within 6 hours of the transfusion. Okay? 6 hours during or within. Ngayon, for patient to survive the initial event, kailangan ma-resolve dapat yung symptoms within 24. Okay? 24 to 72 hours. So ano yung mediator nito? Bakit nangyari? This is mediated by the anti-WBC antibodies, specifically yung mga HLA antibody found sa donor's plasma na nagre-react sa recipient WBC. So anong gagawin? Ibibigyan dapat ng leukoreduced RBC yung patient para maiwasan natin to. Naintindihan? So for the, this is considered to be the leading cause, nabanggit na natin to kanina, ng fatality. Naintindihan? Okay? Next. So, TRALI isn't just about the blood product, no? It's also about the state of the patient that is receiving it. So, anong ibig pong sabihin nun? Ibig pong sabihin, kung may mga pre-existing na condition yung patient, posibleng mas mag-increase yung risk niya na mag-develop ng TRALI. So halimbawa, pag may infection si patient, nag-undergo siya ng surgery, may severe injury siya, no? Posible po na mas lalong mag-increase ang risk ng TRALI. Tapos blood transfusion siya. Naintindihan? So there are two different hypothetical pathways that have been postulated para sa pathogenesis ng TRALI. Pwedeng immune or non-immune. So pag sinabi natin immune TRALI, ito yung classic na pathway, no? It involves the leukocyte antibody. Katulad nga ng sabi ko sa inyo kanina, HLA, na makikita natin sa patient's donor's plasma. Subdonor's plasma. So, para these antibodies will directly attack the recipient white blood cell para mag-aggregate sila sa lungs. Tapos yung non-immune TRALI naman, this depend on the individual condition or predisposition ng patient. Usually, nag-a-accumulate yung mga biological response, okay, for example, biological response modifier katulad ng mga lipids, cytokines, nag-accumulate sa blood product, no, during the storage, doon nagre-react yung patient. Okay? So these substances will trigger a reaction dun sa patient, okay? And that results to TRALI. Okay? So both pathway lead to final common pathway that causes damage to our endothelium, that leads to pulmonary capillary permeability, resulting in non-cardiogenic pulmonary edema. Tandaan niyo na, pulmonary edema. Clear? So, ibig pong sabihin, regardless ng kung anong pathway, isa lang ang endpoint nun. Okay? That will lead to pulmonary, non-cardiogenic pulmonary edema. Okay, so ito po yung criteria sa diagnosis ng TRALI. So, onset, oxygenation, okay? Ito yung blood pressure, ito yung possible result ng chest x-ray. So, the HLA, nabanggit ko na to kanina, or the granulocyte antibody sa donor plasma, okay? Siya po yung nagre-react. Okay? And then, yung mga biologically active lipids, naalala to, ito yung sa immune, ito yung sa non-immune. Diba dalawang pathway yon? Okay? So yung mga active lipids, yun yung non-immune. Yung mga granulocyte antibody or HLA, yan yung immune host. Clear? Sige. Next. So paano yung management? Supportive care. Supportive care, mechanical ventilation, diuretics and steroids, hindi yan useful for TRALI. For the prevention, accurate dapat ang diagnosis and reporting. You test donors to identify if there is a particular implicated donor or referral ng mga implicated donors. Next, punta tayo sa delayed hemolytic transfusion reaction. So, tapos na tayo dun sa mga acute, puntahan natin yung delayed. Sa delayed, the timing, no, is after 24 hours of transfusion. Kadalasan 3 to 10 days later. 3 to 10 days later pa makikita. So, it is defined by the detection of new red cell antibodies that weren't visible sa initial na pre-transfusion screen. So the patient is exposed to foreign antigen for the first time, yung katawan niya slowly nag-build up ng antibody. So this, the secondary, we call it secondary or the anamnestic response. Ito yung pinaka-common cause. The patient was exposed years ago, no? And yung antibody level nag-drop so slow that they were undetectable during the cross-match. So when transfused, their immune system remembers and then rapidly pumps out the antibodies to attack the new cells. So while acute reaction often happen inside the blood vessel, intravascular, di ba? Ang DHDR naman is extravascular. Naintindihan? So the antibody-coated red cell are filtered out and then they are destroyed by the RES or the reticuloendothelial system. Then, tignan po ito. Ito yung extravascular hemolysis natin, yung diagram. So, simply accelerated yung process ng hemolysis leading to increased unconjugated bilirubin. Naalala yun? Unconjugated bilirubin. Tapos, ito pa yung ibang mediators, no? The reaction is mediated by IgG antibodies, specifically to blood group, RH, MNS, KEL, KID, DAFI. So, si KID, yun yung number 1 cause ng DHDR. Okay? So, we also have the DSTR. Ano naman yung DSTR? Delayed serologic transfusion reaction. So, in DSTR, you find new antibody in the patient after 24 hours pero walang physical evidence na yung red cell are being destroyed. Ibig sabihin, walang hemolysis. Okay? So, balikan ko ha, in DHDR, may makikita kang antibody, bagong antibody, at may hemolysis. Dito, sa DSTR, may makikita kang bagong antibody, pero walang hemolysis. Malinaw po ba? So, DHDR and DSTR are particular problem in SCD patient who are chronically transfused. So, ang SCD is sickle cell disease. For patients with sickle cell disease, these reactions are not just laboratory anomalies, they are major clinical problem. Okay? So bakit may hemoglobinuria? This is the most common sign ng delayed reaction sa mga SCD patient. So yung urine, it's dark, it's reddish, indicating that the hemoglobin is being filtered by the kidney. So, a transfusion reaction can actually trigger the vaso-occlusive crisis or yung tinatawag natin acute chest syndrome, which are the leading cause of the morbidity in SCD patients. Okay, mortality po nito is 5 to 10%. Understood? 5 to 10%. Tapos, the patient immune system destroys not only yung transfused blood but also the patient's own native red cells. So ang result, yung hemoglobin mababa. Okay? It drops below or it was before they even got the blood. Mas mababa na talaga siya bago pa nila bago pa magkaroon ng transfusion. So, nade-develop po ito 7 to 10 days after the transfusion. Understood? By the way yung DAT sa DSTR ay negative. Yung DAT sa DHTR ay positive. So, ito po yung difference ng DHTR at DSTR. I repeat sa DHTR, positive ang DAT. Clear? Sa DSTR, negative ang DAT. We have the direct antiglobulin testing. Clear? Okay. Next, transfusion-associated GVHD. So, transfusion-associated graft versus host disease. So, this is particularly terrifying, no? Because the time symptoms appear, hindi na reversible yung damage. Ibig sabihin, the damage is often irreversible at the time na makita natin yung symptoms. So, about 10 days po. 10 days bago natin makita yung symptoms. After the transfusion yon So, there are tetrad of symptoms that could be developed by the patient. So, may fever, may rash, may diarrhea, at saka may liver dysfunction. Okay? So, meron din palang pancytopenia. So, the mortality of patients is 90%. Mortality mortality. 90%. Okay? And then for the diagnosis, sorry, hindi na yung sinasabi ko. For the diagnosis, since yung symptoms nito para siyang drug rash or viral infection, kailangan mag-perform ng biopsy from skin, liver, or bone marrow para makita natin kung may infiltrating na donor lymphocyte. Tapos, perform din ng HLA typing. So, ito yung definitive test. Okay, ito yung definitive test. Kino-compare natin yung HLA ng donor at ng recipient para ma-prove natin na yung white cells na nagsisirculate sa patient actually belongs to the donor. Okay? So, anong ibibigay natin na blood component? Dapat irradiated. Bakit irradiated? Kasi po, para masira yung mga HLAs. Okay? you give irradiated RBC. But you have to remember, guys, wala pong effective na treatment kapag nag-start na ang GVHD ha. Okay? Kaya po, prevention is the only management. So, kaya po tayo nagbibigay ng irradiated na RBC. Okay? So, another is the post-transfusion purpura. Delayed pa rin po ito. So, it is an immune response where the patient develop antibody against platelet-specific antigen. So, it's commonly seen sa mga older female patients. So, these patients usually have been sensitized to the platelet antigen dahil, for example, nagkaroon ng pregnancy o kaya nagkaroon ng prior na transfusion. So, the most frequent implicated antigen is your HPA-1A, human platelet antigen 1A. That's the most common antigen that causes the PTP. So, this onset or the onset of the PTP is 1 to 24 days after transfusion. So the count of platelet will typically drop to less than 10 times 9 times 10 raised to 9 per liter. Okay, remember ang normal count natin 150 to 450, di ba? So imagine pagka nangyari to, babagsak po ng less than 10 na lang. So anong mangyayari? Eh di may bleeding. Kasi kulang platelets, di ba? So, the patients often present with purpura at may bleeding. So, syempre, may fever din, may chills. Okay? So, anong gagawin natin para ma-prevent to? Eh di dapat HPA-1A negative blood unit yung dapat na itatransfuse sa patient. Naintindihan? So, ito yung management ng PTP. First line is the intravenous immunoglobulin, 1 grams per kilogram daily for 2 days. Yan yung standard protocol natin. Hindi tayo mag-expect ng instant na result, okay? Usually kasi it would take about 4 days bago makita yung response. So it is essential na matest natin yung patient for platelet group specific antibodies, okay, like the anti-HPA-1 para ma-confirm natin yung diagnosis. Meron bang genetic possibility nito? There is, no? Ibig sabihin may familial risk po siya. So PTP patient, yung mga and their relatives are at higher risk for neonatal immune thrombocytopenia. So, ibig sabihin, yung mother antibodies attack the baby's platelet. Therefore, genetic counseling is strongly recommended para sa mga families na nagkakaroon nito. Okay? So, paano ang prevention? If patient, may history siya ng PTP, dapat yung future transfusion niya should be handled with extreme precaution. So dapat antigen negative component yung ibibigay po natin. Ibig sabihin, patient must receive blood that is negative for the specific platelet antigen. Okay? So yun nga yung sinasabi ko kanina. Dapat HPA-1A negative na blood unit. Guys, yung pagwawash ng red cell, hindi siya reliable na prophylactic measure. Ibig sabihin, even after washing, may mga residual pa rin na posibleng maiwan. Okay, that could trigger pa rin the immune response. Okay, kaya dapat ang ibibigay is antigen negative units. Yun talaga yung dapat na gawin para ma-prevent tong PTP. Okay? So let's proceed to your TTBI or the transfusion-transmitted bacterial infection. So ano na tayo guys ha? Non-immune na po tayo. Okay? Delayed na non-immune. So this is because of bacterial contamination. Understood? So while modern screening, meron tayong ginagawa para sa HIV, hepatitis screening, no? Bacterial contamination, it remains as a significant risk pa rin, particularly sa mga platelet stored. Bakit platelet? Kasi po, di ba, ito ay ini-store lang natin sa room temperature. Right? So, to confirm a case of TTBI, there must be a clear link between the patient's illness and the blood product. So, dapat yung recipient must show evidence of pathogen that was not present before the transfusion. Yung the same pathogen must be identified in at least one of the following. Okay? Sa transfused component, sa donor at the time of the collection, and kung meron mang mga additional na component na pine-prepare from the same donation or an additional recipient of a component from the same donation. Yun yung tinatawag natin na co-components, other blood product made from the same initial donation. So kailangan makita natin yung pathogen na yon para magkaroon tayo ng evidence na meron talagang bacterial contamination. Okay? So, again, TTBI, nangyayari siya because of the bacterial contamination dun sa blood component. So, may bacterial sepsis, okay, multiple components from the same donation may be contaminated. Yung mga immunocompromised patient ang mas at risk na magkaroon nito, no? So, ito yung mga iba't ibang sources ng organism. So, pwedeng yung normal flora from the donor o kaya naman hindi natin nakita na may bacteremia na pala yung donor. Tapos, nagkaroon ng contamination during the blood collection. At kadalasan pong nagiging organism yung mga gram-negative. Sila yung mas madalas na nagpo-cause ng severe manifestation than the gram-positive. Okay? So, the TTBI can be considered as an acute non-immune transfusion reaction. I repeat, acute non-immune. So unlike hemolytic reaction, this is essentially infusion ng bacteria at ng mga toxin nila dun sa patient. So ano-ano yung mga manifestation? So syempre, may fever, 2 degrees Celsius increase sa body temperature above the baseline. So meron pa rin mga rigors, yung pag-shake or shivering, hypotension, no? Nagda-drop yung blood pressure, that could be an onset na for a septic shock. So ang fatality rate po natin dito ay 10%. Okay? Sa mga RBC na blood component, ang madalas na nakukuha natin dyan, mga gram-negative bacteria katulad ng Yersinia enterocolytica. Okay, mataas ang incidence niyan para sa bacterial sepsis. So others, yung Pseudomonas and Escherichia coli. Sa mga platelet products naman ang nakukuha dyan, mga staph at saka mga strep. Mga gram-positive naman. Okay? So, ano-ano yung mga indication na meron ng bacterial contamination? So may makikita kang bubble formation doon sa blood bag. Posible ding makakita ka ng hemolysis and precipitation. So ano pa ba yung mga iba pang infection, no, na pwedeng mag-cause ng transfusion-transmitted infection? So other than bacteria, pwede ring viruses. Okay? Prions and parasites. So ito yung mga common na iba pang organism. Okay? So, next, ito rin, listahan din to ng mga gram-positive, gram-negative. Nakikita dito yung risk, okay, mortality from red blood cells, platelets. Okay, ito yung mga sources kung saan pwedeng makuha yung mga bacterial infection na yan. Okay, and then we have the transmission risk. So nabanggit ko kanina, other than other than bacteria, pwede rin po itong makuha, no? I mean, hindi bacterial infection pwede rin makuha viral, okay? Transfusion-transmitted viral infection. That includes Hep B, non-A, non-B, naalala niyo yung hepatitis C, HIV, CMV, EBV. Ang syphilis, guys, hindi po siya natatransmit dahil ang spirochete, naalala niyo po ang causative agent ng syphilis, Treponema pallidum, hindi po yan nagsusurvive sa refrigerator temperature. So, ibig pong sabihin, hindi po posibleng makapag-transfuse ng syphilis through blood products kasi namamatay na po agad ang mga spirochetes, no? And then hepatitis A, occurrence is very rare. Infection by transmission requires donor hasviremia. Ibig pong sabihin, sobrang taas dapat ng count ng hepatitis A virus doon kay donor para matransmit niya ang hepatitis A. Remember, hepatitis A hindi naman talaga yan natatransmit ng parenteral route. Yan naman po ay natatransmit fecal-oral. Okay? Next, we have the TACO. TACO is acute non-immune pa rin, ha? So this is an acute non-immune complication, hindi siya allergic reaction. Manifestation niya is congestive heart failure. Okay? Congestive heart failure. So the rate of the, ang nangyayari kasi dito guys, kaya siya tinawag na circulatory overload dahil yung rate ng transfusion na i-exceed niya yung patient's cardiac output. So yung blood, the blood backs up, nag-i-increase yung pressure sa venous system natin, that eventually leaking the fluid papunta sa lungs. Kaya nagkakaroon ng pulmonary edema. Ang kadalasan pong mga at risk dito, mga elderly patient, infant, may mga pre-existing heart or kidney condition, okay? Sila yung mas matataas yung risk na magkaroon ng circulatory overload. So ito po yung mga manifestation. So you have dyspnea, ano ibig sabihin ng dyspnea? Shortness of breathing. Orthopnea, ibig sabihin difficulty of breathing. So meron din pong engorged neck vein, cyanosis, tachycardia. Tachycardia is fast yung heartbeat. Then hypertension, mataas yung blood pressure. Iatrogenic nature, anong ibig sabihin yan? Ibig pong sabihin, it is induced by medical treatment. Okay? Induced by medical treatment. So, next, prevention. So, diuretics. Okay? Prevention is diuretics. So, katulad ng furosemide, mga Lasix. So, gold standard yan para sa prevention and treatment, no? Kaya ka gagamit ng diuretic para ma-dump yung excess water through our urine. So, kailangan controlled yung infusion para maiwasan natin tong TACO. Okay? So, for the management, you stop the transfusion immediately, no? Administer the diuretic, oxygen, therapy. Bakit? Kasi nga yung lungs natin may edema. Nag-build up yung fluid. So, kailangan natin ng supplemental oxygen para ma-maintain yung saturation. And you start the transfusion slowly. Okay po? So, unlike many other reaction, dito pwede kang mag-restart ng transfusion. Very slowly nga lang. Only kung stabilized na yung patient. Okay? And the unit has not exceeded yung 4-hour na limit. Okay? 4-hour na limit out of the controlled storage para ma-prevent natin yung bacterial growth. So, ito yung prevention. You assess the cardiac status, closely monitor the patient, use a slower rate of transfusion. Okay? And then, diuretics. Or pwede mong hatiin sa mga smaller, halimbawa kung meron na siyang previous na case niyan, pwede mong ihatiin sa mga aliquots. Okay? Yung blood products na ibibigay sa kanya, tapos unti-unti nating ipapatransfuse. So, dyspnea occurs within 24 hours after transfusion. So again, shortness of breathing, okay, dyspnea, this can occur alone or may iba pa siyang kasamang symptoms. Okay? And then all other diagnoses are excluded. Ang pathogenesis ng transfusion-associated dyspnea is still unknown at this point. Then we have the hypotensive transfusion reaction. So, specific complication ang nagde-define dito yung rapid drop ng blood pressure, hypotension. That happens within 1 hour after the transfusion is finished. So, ito po yung National Healthcare Safety Network criteria. Sa mga adult, magda-drop yung blood pressure ng more than 30 mmHg, and systolic yun and systolic blood pressure ng less than 80 mmHg. Sa mga bata naman, 25 yung drop from the baseline. Okay? And then yung pathophysiology din nito, hindi pa ganon na naiintindihan up to this point, no? So, but ito yung explanation currently dahil daw yon sa increased bradykinin levels sa stored blood. Okay? Next, let's move on to refractoriness to platelet transfusion alloimmunization. So, ano ba itong platelet refractoriness? So, in healthy scenario, a platelet transfusion should significantly increase the patient count, di ba? Pag sinabi nating refractoriness, nadadiagnose siya kapag yung patient nag-receive siya ng multiple transfusion but yung platelet hindi tumataas as expected. So anong problema? Maaari na sinisira natin yung platelet ng donor. Okay? As soon as ma-receive natin siya. So, it will complicate or it will leave the patient at risk for bleeding kung gano'n ang mangyayari. Okay po? So, anong pinaka-common cause? Alloimmunization. Alloimmunization. Anong ibig sabihin ng alloimmunization? Yung patient immune system, nagde-develop siya ng antibody against the foreign antigen. Okay? So, that's the main reason. Next. Ito po yung incidence ng alloimmunization. Okay? So, self-explanatory naman na yan. So, 0.3 sa mga healthy blood, less than 0.3% sa healthy blood donor, 1 to 3 sa mga unselected hospitalized patient, 3 sa post-transfusion, and 30, pinakamataas sa mga chronically transfused patient. Especially kung meron silang mga pre-existing conditions. Okay? And then this is the iron overload. Iron overload, transfusion-transmitted hemosiderosis. So this one, the human body has an efficient way, no, para mag-recycle ng iron. Pero walang active physiological way to excrete excess iron. Do you remember that in hematology? Meron tayong way para mag-recycle. Pero wala tayong way para mag-excrete ng excess na iron. Kaya po ang nangyayari, nagkakaroon tayo ng overload ng iron. Malinaw? Okay? So, 1 unit ng red blood cell, approximately nagko-contain yan ng 250 ng iron. So, clinical iron overload typically begins to manifest kapag ang patient nag-receive siya ng 10 to 15 red cell transfusion. So, para ma-prevent natin yung accumulation, gagamit tayo ng mga chelating agent para mag-bind dun sa iron sa tissue. So, may excrete na natin yan via urine or feces. So, ito yung mga example ng chelating agent. Okay? Or, the chronic red cell transfusion, so alternative sa transfusion therapy and may help delay the transfusion-related iron accumulation. Okay? So, massive transfusion, replacement of one total blood volume within 24 hours or replacement of 50% of the blood volume within 3 hours. That is the definition of a massive transfusion. Okay, next. For the autoimmune hemolytic anemia, so we have the WARM, autoimmune hemolytic anemia. So this is the most frequent type ng autoimmune mediated cell destruction. So kaya po natin tinawag na WARM kasi yung antibody primarily IgG, okay, primarily IgG reacts best at body temperature, which is at 37. So they are often directed against high incidence antigen, most commonly anti-RH. So ang hemolysis natin dito is extravascular, ha? So if the antibody screen is positive, adsorption and elution study may be necessary para ma-determine natin kung ano yung antibodies, no? If they are autoantibodies or alloantibodies or both. Okay, and then another autoimmune hemolytic anemia is your cold. Okay, cold. Autoimmune hemolytic anemia, second most common naman to na AIHA. So IgM naman tayo kasi IgM ang nagre-react sa colder temperature. So this causes the paroxysmal cold hemoglobinuria or your PCH. Yung antibody na involved dito is your auto-anti-PIgG. Ito yung tinatawag natin Donat-Landsteiner antibody. Okay? We also have the cold agglutinin disease. Usually, anti-I naman po yan. So ang site of hemolysis naman ito is intravascular. Okay? That positive po ito because of the presence of the CD3 on RBCs. Okay? Ito naman yung mga drug-induced autoimmune hemolytic anemia. So, in this case, hindi na antigen ang problema natin. Mga medications na po. Okay? So, we have the drug adsorption. Ito po yung tinatawag natin na HAC10 mechanism. Okay. So, ito po ay often associated with penicillin. So, yung drug, nagbabind siya sa surface ng RBC. Tapos yung katawan natin, nagpo-produce ng IgG antibody directly against the drug. So, anong resulta? Nasisira yung RBC. Okay? And then, positive yung DAT natin dito, ha? Positive ang DAT sa drug adsorption. Then, we also have the immune complex type, yung antibodies to drugs such as kinin and quinidine. Nagpo-form din sila ng immune complex. Okay? Kaya na-activate ang complement. So, makikita po natin yung CD3. So, positive pa rin po ito, parehas sa DAT. Malinaw? And then we have the membrane modification, non-immunologic protein adsorption siya. Ibig pong sabihin, by the way, yung mga drugs na involved dito, yung mga cephalosporin. So, this drug chemically modify our RBC membrane. Kaya po, ang resulta, yung mga proteins, IgG, albumin, complement, nag-i-stick sila sa membrane. Tapos, hindi po siya totally or actually nagre-result sa hemolysis, but it also has certain laboratory effects. Okay? Positive din po ito sa DAT, ha? And then we have the methyl dopa. Okay, methyl dopa induced autoantibody formation po siya. So the DAT is usually positive because of the presence of IgG on RBCs. Strong positive po ito, ha? Strong positive. Para sa DAT. Because of the presence of the IgG. Okay? And then we have the immunomodulatory effect of transfusion. The allogenic allogenic transfusion has been associated with decreased activity of the autoimmune diseases, impaired ang wound healing, may repetitive na spontaneous abortion, accelerated ang clinical course ng HIV or CMV infection, there is earlier or higher risk of tumor recurrence or colorectal cancer, and also may post-operative bacterial infection. So, essentially, kapag yung isang tao naka-receive siya ng allogenic blood transfusion, blood from another person, hindi lang nare-replace yung volume, no? Pwede rin ma-reprogram or ma-suppress yung immune system ng pasyente. Naintindihan? So, ibig kong sabihin, when the foreign blood enters the body, it introduces different white blood cells, na may lamang mga cytokines, may HLA, kaya po nag-shift from pro-inflammatory response, nagiging anti-inflammatory response. Okay? So ito yung mga example ng posibleng effect ng allogenic transfusion. Ito po ay effect ng allogenic transfusion. Okay, and then we also have the adverse metabolic effect of transfusion. So, pwedeng magkaroon ng citrate toxicity, na-discuss na natin yan previously. Hyperkalemia, okay? Ibig pong sabihin, that this is because of the storage lesion. Nabanggit ko na kanina kung bakit, right? Nag-i-increase po yung potassium kasi nagli-leak yung potassium sa plasma. So, ano po yung mga signs and symptoms? Neuromuscular and cardiac effects. Okay? And then, eto lang naman kung paano nangyayari yung investigation. So, nabanggit ko na rin yan kanina. So, anong gagawin? You have to check for any clerical error, visual inspection, no, ng mga sample, perform tayo ng direct antiglobulin testing dun sa patient sample at saka doon sa post-transfusion sample, and you can do other additional tests to investigate the transfusion reaction. Okay? And then the rest of this are just other information about the transfusion reaction, but hindi ko na yan i-include. Okay? Kasi ang investigation naman ng transfusion reaction is multidisciplinary. So, hindi lang po tayo yung involved dito. Okay? So, that would end our discussion for today. May tanong po ba? Ang mahalaga guys sa topic na to is yung mga characteristic ng bawat transfusion reaction. And then, ano yung prevention ng bawat transfusion reaction. And then, ano pa ba? Yung mechanism niya, ano yung mga affected, ano